and for his blessings. He has now come in our midst. He's with us. We don't see him as a spook. Right. He's no spook. He's a live man. He's a living God. I'm sorry that I have not asked you to sit down. You look so beautiful, and I don't want you to sit down.
And a guest, and maybe he could help me to convey a message to you. He's my friend. I like him a lot, and I'm going to tell you why I brought him in and why I think he's important to the future of you learning about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And his name is Yosef bin Asiel Israel. Salam alaikum.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, who appeared in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, to whom righteous and holy praise is forever due, we thank that great God for his coming to the wilderness of North America to raise up amongst us the first begotten from the dead, that special soul. I speak none other than the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. In those holy and righteous names, I greet you in the words of peace. Assalamu alaikum. We'll be right back after these quick commercials. Looking for something that feels good, looks great, and stands the test of time? Well, we have it for you. Black Royalty is our athleisure line that is made from the finest bamboo and cotton blend. We have designed high quality tracksuit and t-shirts in multiple colors that provide you the most comfort when you need it most. Whether you're in the gym or running errands or just lounging around with loved ones, you need to be in the best quality clothing as possible. We have constructed a high quality clothing line that does not break the bank, and we beat out all of our competitors on price. So please, if you're interested in being comfortable, not just in the gym, but when you're running around and doing errands, please visit blackroyaltywear.com. Also, you can find us on Instagram at Black Royalty. And if you have any questions or comments about our brand and how you can help participate, you can find us at blackroyaltywear@gmail.com. We'll be quick to answer your questions, and with our responses, we will be very thorough. So also, like I said, Black Royalty is for you because it was made by you with the intentions of serving you. So leave all those other clothing lines behind and get on what makes sense, something that's going to stand the test of time, because black don't crack. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back again to another installment of Know Thyself Radio Show, where we make it our business, our duty, our responsibility to give you nothing but the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, who was taught to him by that great and omnipotent God, Allah, in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, to whom righteous and holy praise is forever due. And as always, it's an honor to come before you and bear witness to the greatness of the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, as well as to be able to discern the truth of what our people are suffering from. Use that knowledge which was given to the most honorable Elijah Muhammad from God himself and apply it to our lives so we can directly see the benefit and be able to manifest that heaven on earth in this day and time on this physical plane. Yes, brothers and sisters, as I've stated before and you've heard before, you do not have to die to go to heaven. It's the same, you don't have to die to go to hell. It is manifested right here on this physical plane. So if you want heaven, if you desire a place of peace, serenity, tranquility, justice, equality, stability, you must create it. And I, and those who believe as I do, know that using the messenger's teachings, which was given to him by Almighty God Allah in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, will bring into existence that reality. But first, before that is even possible, you must first identify that you are in hell. You must accept that reality. You must internalize the facts of that matter. And then, and only then, can you be able to reverse it by enacting the truth which was given us, to reverse the lies and deception which was put on us by our slave master and outright enemy, the civilization of devils, as so taught by the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, the white race themselves. And don't get me wrong, you have black collaborators, you have those who capitulate and help and aid and assist in that reality. But we know in this dispensation of time, the author of that reality is the white race. And that's okay to say that. You don't have to be ashamed to acknowledge that, because only if you acknowledge that will you be able to do something about it. Only if you acknowledge that will you have the ability to change your circumstances. And we're saying that it is not only our mandate, but our responsibility to do so. So, with that being said, I wanted to come on this particular episode and speak briefly about the impact of media, of television, of movies, of popular culture, music, and all of these so-called forms of entertainment that we are all immersed in, that we seek and find enjoyment, that we find some type of reprieve from our situation, our circumstances, but how this is being used to weaponize those who seek to galvanize, to destroy and kill you. As I'm looking on the landscape of television in this day and time, I'm seeing example after example, and movie after movie, television show after television show of a situation and circumstances where it seems that murder, mayhem has become more rampant and widely accepted. That they are showing that the only way, and I'm speaking of the white race that is, that they have the ability to survive, that they have the ability to hold on to their dominance, that they have the ability to keep some type of semblance of the lifestyle that they have so comfortably lived for the past 400 plus years in this country, is to continue with the onslaught of oppression, of devastation, of outright and open decadence that is practiced in this immoral society. And not only has it been promoted at a level that is seen so widely accepted, though you have a fraction of the government or society that feels that open and outright violence isn't acceptable as far as social means, they still practice violence. They still practice hate. They still practice a destruction of culture as it relates to the original man and woman in other forms and facets. As I mentioned before, the media uses both television to send dog whistles to their people to show that, hey, if we don't do something about this Negro problem, I mean really do something as far as physically, we're going to be in a situation and circumstance where they're going to not just outnumber us, but they're going to take over control of our country. And then you have another fraction that says, yeah, we may not necessarily have to outright and openly shoot them. Let's devise a plan, a stratagem where we're able to use suggestive means, where we're able to cultivate a mind that is totally separate of God and independent of truth, honesty, and morality. That they will no longer be principle driven, where they no longer have an affinity for the protection of their own self, that they will no longer seek to even be amongst each other to have any type of cohesion that would allow them to be a strong, solid unit that ultimately will protect them from us interfering in their affairs. So now you're fighting a war on both ends and both fronts, but yet and still you find a way to ignore all of that. You find a way to pretend that that isn't a reality, that we have come to a place where now, yeah, you have small fractions, and that's why you have the so-called leftist media continue to brandish the extremists or white supremacists as these fringe groups, whether it be the Proud Boys, the KKK, these white nationalists, those type of groups, that they are not a part of white society as a whole, that they're anomalies in a sense. But that is so far from the truth, brother and sister. They all share the same interests. They all have the same code. Now, yes, they have infighting. Yes, they have bickering and arguments, and they may even kill each other. Of course, they don't have any reverence for life. That's their nature, whether you accept it or not. But what they do have that allows them to continue to control your reality and to keep their foot on your neck is that they have a code based and centered around an outright hatred for you. A hatred that supersedes whatever bickering, squabbling, interracial conflict that they may have. Because you have to understand, their whole purpose for being created was to be a destructive force in your life. They see their only means of truly having power on this planet is to not just oppress but suppress the original man and woman to a state that they have no knowledge of who and what they truly are and what their mandate is. That's why you practice and do anything that is outside of your best interest and your nature. See, it was a reason that the most honorable Elijah Muhammad kept saying, Islam is your nature. Islam is your nature. It is not your religion, it's your nature. And you keep getting caught up thinking that, well, he's talking about some Arab religion. I know Arabs are white. I know Arabs are part of the slave trade. He wasn't saying that. He said, hey, I come to bring a new Islam, meaning I'm bringing a new understanding of how we're going to practice what? Peace and righteousness. The ability to submit to the will of Almighty God. That's what he brought. See, that makes it more tangible. That makes it more functional. That makes it more applicable to our lives, so that now we're not living in a fantasy world, that we're not praising or trying to serve something that is abstract, but then it becomes real. That's why he told you and he showed you through his actions that God taught him. Not a mystic, not a stone, not a spook, not a spirit, but a physical, living, breathing man. See, that's a dynamic that we still to this day cannot accept nor conceptualize when it comes to being a black man. Because when it comes to the white man, we have so much reference and reverence for him as a God. We see him as almighty, the end all be all, the alpha and omega, and we refuse at no point to truly try to uproot his power. How does that become a reality? How does that come a circumstance and a situation, though we continue to articulate over and over again that we are in such a dire situation and we need substantive change, but when it comes to enacting and applying some type of solution, we become petrified to the very core of our being. You've been contextualized. You've been cultivated. You have been constructed in a manner that keeps you from being who you were born, destined, and created to be. That's why media is so important, because it creates an environment where you start to acquire a taste for servitude. Slavery, subjugation becomes palatable. That means it is tolerable at that point. How does your palate be able to accept and find delicious servitude? Perpetual servitude. And I want to read the definition of media as I go forward in my dissertation. It won't be long, but this I think is appropriate. Media. First definition: a singular or plural in construction. Mass media. When an individual or individuals come together to construct something, to make something, to build something. And that's why I've been on here hearkening, and I wish you hearken unto my words. I've been on here talking and speaking and promoting and say, we have been made into the perfect slave. A slave has been constructed. You read Dr. Frankenstein and thought it was just a story, thought it was just a Halloween antidote, thought it was just something that was written as a novel. No. This white man is Dr. Frankenstein, and he has made the monster, which is you, the so-called Negro of this planet. He's only emulating, replicating, so teaches the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, what you did, the evil genius Yaqub, in creating the white man in the first place, using that same technology and science to make the present day Negro of today. No, you are the antithesis of what a real man should be. You are the embodiment of artificial intelligence. Meaning that your so-called knowledge doesn't produce anything that is real. It's artificial. You use your genius, your ingenuity to create things that keeps you in slavery, that promotes their world, that builds and prolongs their world. You refuse to use your mind to do anything to create your own world. That one man who said, hey, I'm going to use this mind, this brain power to create a nation of my own. You rejected him. Not everyone, but society as a whole accepted the reality of the lies that were given to him by that slave master and refused to hear and see and take benefit of the advantages that was created by the Nation of Islam under the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. Second definition: a medium of cultivation, conveyance, or expression. That means that with this media, like I said, you're growing something. Not only are you growing something, the way you grow something is by conveying, continuing to bombard the people so that they are creating an expression of what you have been conveying through your cultivation. Okay, let me backtrack. Let me make that make sense for you, if it didn't already. They're able to manipulate behavior in such a way that they can form any type of behavioral aspects through a person by using a continuous science of technology, by the music, by the television, by the movies and the popular culture and what it seems acceptable as society because it's promoted continuously. And then you see those who have some type of influence in our society start to practice it. And now you're looking at this person as successful, and everybody wants to be successful. And so the means of being successful is to practice a decadent behavior. So you have been created, constructed into something that is totally void of truth, therefore has no ability to bring into existence any real substantive change. I'm talking about the media here. But I'm talking about the world that the devil has made for you to fall in love with. I was watching a show, and it's been a movie, but now they have a television show, and it's called The Purge. And for me, I keep seeing this type of television. It's a new Joker movie out that's centered around the 80s, which shows anarchy and a white man killing and murdering on television. Does that sound familiar? Charlottesville. Does that sound familiar? The numerous cases of open white supremacy being caught on tape, being displayed on every news channel of these white men killing aimlessly, not just blacks, but also whites. Those who are so-called race traitors, meaning they have a form of punishment for those who break code and break rank and does not operate or toe the lines of white supremacy. Even if they're doing it their own way, if they don't feel that they're codified, they show that they have a means of punishment. What am I saying? It is a system that is emboldening more and more of that ideology to show that we have no patience nor control as it relates to our ability to stop us from using violence as the first and only option to solve our problems. See, you were under the premise that this country operates under the law. No, it's a lawless society as it relates to you and me, and it's a lawless society for anybody who doesn't operate. Well, it has one law, and the law is white supremacy, promoted, proliferated, perpetuated at all costs. And if you deviate from that, then you shall and you will be punished. So, I want us to understand that we watch these shows and we look at it as entertainment. We see these movies and we pay the money to watch them, but yet and still we refuse to see the real life application as it is displayed every day in our lives. We see ourselves stand in the system of white supremacy almost as an act of nobility. We look at it as a noble act. We look at it through that Christian doctrine that we must suffer, that we must endure this hate, this murder, this disdain, that would make us a righteous people, that we have the ability, no matter how terrible our life is on this earth, somehow, some way we'll be in heaven where we will be able to be as free as we would like to. We've bought into that. Why? Because it doesn't make us accountable for the life that we live now. We can do, say anything or accept anything and it be okay, as long as we do what it takes, repent, and go to heaven. And repentance is just saying some words. Or repentance is, in our case, accepting white supremacy, accepting our death. Think about how many times our people have been shot down, killed in the street, have been taken advantage of, have been law and unlawfully convicted of crimes that they had nothing to do with, that we've been redlined, so forth and so on. And we as a people refuse to do anything about it. We accept it as the norm. But as soon as one of you or I, another brother or sister, original man or woman, does anything that we find slightly disrespectful, we don't just take it to the extreme. We make sure we eliminate that person and those around them. You have been created to hate yourself so much that you would do anything and everything to remove that hate by removing those actual physical beings from this physical plane. We talk about all the addictions that the black man suffers from, whether it be alcohol, whether it be drugs, whether it be sex, whether it be food. But all of that is rooted in a developed addiction of self-hate. So all of the violence that we impose on ourselves and others, that we implement in our daily lives, is rooted in an addiction of self-hate that was taught intrinsically into us by our slave master. Our environment has conditioned us to a point that we love to hate each other. And even those who do not promote violence, so-called against their brothers and sisters, or may not have acts of violence against their brothers and sisters, refuse to work with them at a level that is beneficial for the whole of our people. I don't want nothing to do with that Negro. I don't deal with black people. You see, that's how we talk. We run to go be with our enemy. We run to go be with our adversary. We run to go be with those who have done nothing but kill, maim, and destroy us. We have totally capitulated to a society that wants to remove us from this planet. And we have become one of the main perpetuators of that same hate. I want to read Purge. As I said, though they're showing this TV show and other shows and movies that are similar to that, we are living in a realistic and real life purge today. It's not a coincidence that just weeks after Amber Geiger was so-called convicted, but we seen that display, that disgusting display of that black woman, bailiff, and the slain brothers' testimony as it relates to Amber Geiger and their acceptance, and they wanted her to be free from all guilt. Just weeks later, another young sister who was in her own home again, who was playing video games with a little nephew or cousin, was murdered by a police officer who supposedly was doing a check on a disturbance or breaking in or some type of situation where the police were called because it was a scene that seemed unsettling. But he had no real information to go off of. He did not identify himself as a police officer. He snuck behind, parked on the street a couple blocks away, and came in and killed the young lady. Shot through the window. Now, that doesn't sound like somebody who was trying to serve, protect, to find what was going on and assess the situation. That sounds like somebody who had blood on his mind and on his tongue, and he had to taste it. And he wasn't going to stop till he did so. And he did it. And he copped out by quitting before they could remove him. But we know that's all a ploy. It's all a game. Because once again, you have to understand their nature. You have to understand the root of how they operate. And until you understand that, you'll never be able to solve the problem. Why? Because you have emulated and copied that same mentality. Look in your neighborhoods. Look at these young sons and young daughters. So easy to fight and kill and cuss and steal and rape and murder and sell drugs to each other. Look how we just have no care or concern for our lives of our brothers and sisters. We have not just emulated, we have taken the hate that the white man has had for us and totally bathed, immersed ourselves in it. We look at ourselves in the mirror and pray to see a white man. And so we have taught ourselves to think and operate like a white man as it relates to each other. We don't think and operate like a white man when it comes to acquisition of wealth or putting ourselves in a position that we have some type of control. No, we don't go that far. Just the part where we were trained to hate each other, to attack each other. We're like dogs in a dog fight. We just go till the other one is dead. So, we're living in a purge. You don't have to watch the television show. It's already accepted. As long as you kill Negroes or white people who are accepting or seem like they want to help Negroes, we know that help is still has its own ulterior motives, but we'll go into that in a later date. We're part of a purge. The transitive verb, to clear of guilt, to free from a moral or ceremonial defilement. Now you got to realize they have planted the black men and women, especially in America, but throughout the world, as the most vile beast that has ever been created. That's why they keep trying to brandish you as murderers. They keep trying to brandish you as animals, from the early days, even right after slavery, when you so-called had your own freedom, all of the first mass media push, whether it be in the papers, whether it be on television, and those movies that they created, were centered around showing the image of the black man being this vile beast, one that was untamable, that was coming to rape the most precious gift of the white man, which is the white woman, because he has the ability to produce white children. So to kill a black person is ceremonial. That's why during the times, well, even today, but especially during the times of segregation and Jim Crow, when they used to go to hang a person, the whole town would come out. They would chop up the body parts and take it home as ornaments to put on their walls, hang on their walls, put on their shelving. This is how they see destroying you, because they know as long as they keep the black man down, they will be in power. To make free of something unwanted, to free or relieve, to rid, to get rid of. That's what it means. Listen to this now. Listen to the noun. That's the transitive verb. We'll go to the second definition. The removal of elements or members regarded as undesirable and especially as treacherous or disloyal. Anybody, and I mean anybody, that does not accept the system of white supremacy as seen as treacherous or disloyal. But you have to understand, being black makes you be automatically in a position of undesired and unwanted, especially if you have a mind of the original man that was given to us by God Almighty, meaning you want to be a free, independent person. You don't want to be under the system of white supremacy. You don't want to serve no evil devil that you know has done nothing but destroy this whole planet and all the aspects of. You want to rid yourself of that reality. Oh no, you gotta go. We have to purge you. So what do? They outright openly kill that type of man. Then they try to sterilize the women. And then those who they can't sterilize, they, by a heavy load of their media, they bombard the children who we know are impressionable to create an environment where they are so receptive to the lies that they are starting to change at the molecular level their way of thinking, so they become docile and impotent, that they don't have no desire for freedom, that they just want to be these kids that just want to get high, drink, get tattoos, and have fun and party. That is the reality that we live in today, and that has been a plan that has been put into place for decades. Follow the list. Follow the movies. Look back at the movies and how they changed over time and how they continue to be more and more decadent and then more and more acceptive of all the things that we as a people never accepted. And they put it in the form of what? Comedy and music. The two most receptive things in the black community. You want to laugh and you want to listen to music, because those were two forms of expression that we continuously practice over the centuries. And so they weaponize this. They always do. Hear me out, brother and sister. I want to go to the Messenger's book, The Fall of America. Fire fed with fuel. Chapter 50. We do not hope for peace as long as we add to the war that which serves as fuel to a fire. The fire cannot go out as long as we keep it burning by adding more fuel. A dying, burning fire is increased when more fuel is thrown into it. You are the fuel. They are on their way out, but for some reason, some way, we keep putting ourselves into the burning pot that is on its way out to continue the fire to burn. We keep adding to. We keep putting ourselves in a position where we try to be a part of their system, where we feel that we've made it, but the only thing we're doing is to continue to prolong the inevitable, but also prolong our servitude. Back to the messenger. There are a lot of people who are so anxious for peace that they cannot return to committing that which they lack and love, idling, sport, and play. That's you and I, brothers. It's those who accept the truth. We can't go back to sport and play. We can't go back to being idle. We can't go on back to just having fun and hanging out. Once you realize that you need to be free and you want freedom and peace so bad, you'll do anything. You sacrifice your life for it, but you know it has to be disciplined. And there's no place to be idle. There's no place for sport and play. There's no place to just be hanging out. The world that we live in desires, first of all, to hide the truth, to keep the black man, who he has made blind, deaf, and dumb by the scientific technology of the white race. That's what we just spoke about. And one of the main forms of his technology is that media. So that the white race can continue to carry on the same deceiving and wickedness that they have been practicing. How can we expect peace where the method used to bring about peace is the same method that started the war, instead of finding a right solution and then practicing the right solution? And that's all I'm asking. Let's stop from what we've been doing, turn around and go the other way. You cannot use the same system that has been put in place to destroy us to bring forth your freedom. It won't happen. It won't. It can't. So I don't care how much you say we're going to use America and we're going to be a part of it, we're going from within. That's not how it works. That's not how it works. How can we expect peace? I'm going to say it again. Where the method used to bring about peace is the same method that started the war, instead of finding a right solution and then practicing the right solution. I say for these things, for the sake of my own black people, for they are so ignorant to the knowledge of truth of the time in which we are now living. What they would like to do cannot be done, for the time to even continue to do what they are doing is up. We must remember again that the prediction of the Bible, it was foretold these times. If we understand the Bible, it will most certainly teach us that there is no peace for the wicked. There is no peace for the wicked. There is no peace for those who practice the hate, the disdain, the outright murder. They don't have peace in their hearts. And I'll say to you, my brother and sister, as long as you want to be a part of that system, as long as you practice their ways, that you copy and emulate their doings, that you feel comfortable being a part of what they have done to you and to the world, you will never have peace. You cannot and will not have peace by being among a people who don't have peace in their hearts. You cannot have peace unless you truly seek peace for yourself and remove those who have been the ones who have brought forth a continuous hate and disdain. You don't know what peace is, but it was a man that did, a man that was taught by God as it was foretold to happen. That man is the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, the man that taught him, that God that taught him, is Master Farad Muhammad, a live person who righteous praise is forever due. And I say this in my closing: if you do not stop, turn away from your evil and wicked ways, you will see that you have walked into your own grave. And a lot of our people, though they may be physically walking, they're as dead as can be. And if you see and notice that means you have a little bit of life, but you have to do something about it. Join your own. Be a part of those who really seek to build a nation of righteousness and start to do the work. Time for playing is done. Time for sport is done. Time for all of the idle things that we have been doing is over and finished with. You must bring into existence this new heaven on earth. Because your enemy will not. And you will not die and go to a place that has it. Thank you for listening as I leave you as I greeted you. In the words of peace and paradise. Assalamu alaikum.